Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our September 1st, 2020 committee meetings. I'd like to welcome my fellow councillors. All councillors are present except Councillor Duran, who is on vacation, I believe. So his co-chair, Councillor Corey, will give his report as we move through the agenda. And I want to welcome Gerald Giroux. He's the electrical engineer for the electrical department. Welcome. And we have our police chief here, Chief Poirier. We have our Director Gordon McFarlane. We have Director of Finance, Director Kristen Dunsford of Finance, and Director Aaron McDonald from Tech Services. We have Linda Stevenson from Tech Services, and Brian Harlick. I don't believe I missed anybody today. So we're all here, and members of the planning board are here. And at this point, we'll turn it over to the chair, Councillor Brian McFeely, the planning board chair. The floor is yours, sir.
I thank you, Your Worship. So we'll call the planning board meeting of September 1st to order. And we'd ask for a motion for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Adams, that the agenda be approved as circulated. Still a preface, I guess, before we move into the agenda item, just for people on YouTube, that the planning board is made up of Councillor Ramsey, Councillor Adams, and myself, and the mayor. So those are the voting members of the planning board, but at these meetings we always welcome and encourage the active participation of council in the discussion. But when it comes to the vote, those are the people who would vote. So our one and only agenda item today is 490 North Market Street, a conditional use permit for a home-based business. The supporting explanation, the purpose is of the review is as requested by the applicant, Billy McKendrick, as a result of a denied conditional use approval for a home-based business. The background, an application was received from Billy McKendrick for a home-based business, a car detailing business, at 490 North Market Street in his accessory building garage. Staff reviewed the application and determined the application did not meet the criteria for a home-based business. The report under section 9.1E, a home-based business must not occupy more of a dwelling's floor area or the equivalent floor area in an accessory building than A, the home-based business uses an aggregate floor of 50 meters square, 538.2 square feet, and B, the home-based business uses less than 25% of the floor area of the dwelling unit. Staff did a site visit on August 20th with permission from the applicant and determined the following measurements. The dwelling floor area, 878 square feet. Dwelling main floor, 22.5 feet by 39 feet. 416 square feet. Dwelling upper floor, 22.5 by 18.5 feet. 200 square feet dwelling basement as declared by owner, for a total of 1,494 square feet total. The proposed business floor area, 480 square feet, and the garage is 20 by 24. The proposed home-based business is 32% of the floor area of the dwelling and exceeds the allowable 25%. Technical service staff review. The technical service staff denied the application for a conditional use approval for a home-based business car detailing at 490 North Market Street as exceeds the allowable floor area. As per section 5.14C of the zoning bylaw, the planning board shall make a recommendation to council on this application before it is approved or denied. Section 5.14C, an applicant who is denied a conditional use permit by the development officer, either in respect of a new permit for a home-based business or a renewal, reassignment, or amendment to an existing permit, may request in writing within 21 days of the decision for their application to be reviewed by council. Council, after hearing the recommendation of the planning board, may approve or deny the permit. The planning board recommendation, whether carried or defeated, will be brought forward to council for a final decision. So the planning board recommendation that the application from Billy McKendrick, for conditional use approval for a home-based business car detailing at 490 North Market Street be recommended to be approved by council. So we would welcome a mover and a seconder for that, and then we will open the floor to discussion and debate.
Sorry, your last comment there, Mr. Recommended to be approved by council? Or
Yeah, it's a positive recommendation. Planning board can either pass
or recommendation to go to council.
Yes. Right. Yeah. So we need a mover. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, seconded by Councillor Adams. So we will now open the floor for discussion. Any questions?
Just a comment,
comments?
Mr. Chairman, that would go into the monthly.
This would go to the monthly meeting on the 20th, Brian? 21st.
For a vote.
Yeah, so it's a we're recommending to council that it either be approved or denied, I guess. So.
In the meantime, what happens, I guess, can they still operate in the meantime? That's what I'm wondering.
He has been advised that he's not to be operating.
Councillor Ramsey.
Well, I've had a number of complaints regarding this car detailing business on North Market Street. I've received video, very loud video of pressure washers and vacuums running in the driveway, problems with vehicles being parked too close to the stop signs, and I believe police had to go down to asked to have those vehicles removed. There was a stop order sent out, and it appeared, as reported to me, that the business went on as normal after the stop order. This is a residential area, and it's causing a disturbance to the people who live close by, with the amount of complaints that I'm getting on this topic. So I just wanted to let council know, and I realize that other councillors have received emails and seen photographs as well. So I'm just giving my opinion on that. I would have to agree with Tech Services that this would be denied.
Any other? Councillor Snow? Oh, excuse me.
No, I was just trying to follow that it's been denied, but it didn't get to council yet. So I just
Well, no, but I guess what I'm saying is I couldn't support this. I would have to agree with Tech Services and their decision on putting a stop on that.
It's a little bit confusing in terms of the process, but. Councillor Snow?
Just some questions regarding under the supporting explanation. So it says the home-based business uses an aggregate floor area of 50 meters squared. So it falls under, he meets that requirement because it's only whatever, what was it there, of the total 480 square feet. So it meets that one, it just doesn't meet section B.
Percentage of.
Percentage of. And then, so where it says 200 square feet for the dwelling basement as declared by owner, what does that mean? Is that the actual, is that just what he has told us? Do we know what the size
Correct.
of the basement is?
Staff did not go inside, but measured from the outside of both buildings. He was there and told them that this much square footage was finished in the basement to be included in the calculations.
Okay, so based on that, let's just talk in hypotheticals. I'm just thinking of other home-based businesses going down the road.
Yep.
So if he was to finish more than the 200 square feet of his basement, he could in theory then fall in the guidelines of our home-based business.
If you came within the 25%, yes.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, this is one of those properties that borders mine and Councillor Ramsey's whatever wards. Mr. McKendrick would be a constituent of mine, and then the road, one side is barbed wire. I personally have not received any complaints from the neighboring properties in the ward. That's not to say that there's no complaints, I just haven't physically received them. Following this process, as we head into council meetings, I'm gonna put out a request from any of the neighboring properties to see, you know, if there is any concerns or, on my part. I know Councillor Ramsey has received some, so it's an important process, but I totally understand if it doesn't meet the requirements then, but I was just wondering, with the 200 square feet dwelling basement, in theory, he could fall into it if more of it was finished.
That, he would meet that criteria, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I do not live in the ward that is being discussed, and certainly I am very much for business, whether it's home-based business or commercial business. But I guess as a resident, I can only speak to a situation that we ran into a number of years back, which was around the noise and the nuisance, and it took neighbors a number of years to work around that. And I think the biggest thing that we found in that situation was the disruption to the neighbors, to the quality of life that people really deserve to have when they live in a residential neighborhood. When I did start to hear complaints from the residents, including ourselves, some of the main things that came out was people were not able to sit out in their yards if it was nicer weather. People, if there were shift workers or young children, the noise was very disruptive to the home life. And I think really just that disruption and the close proximity to the neighbors is what we ran into. And this sounds quite similar to what we did. And I would certainly be supporting tech services in that situation, that we have to look at in that situation what it's doing to the quality of life for neighbors. And the final thing is, if the neighbors were not approached on this and it did begin to happen or whatnot, then I think in fairness, they really didn't have a chance to speak how they felt or how they would feel. So I will certainly be supporting the information coming forth from tech services.
Councillor Snow.
Your comment there just made me think. So based on this application coming forward, would any of the neighboring properties been notified?
No. I guess we recap. We get probably quite a few requests for a conditional use for home-based businesses. A lot of them come in and they appear to meet the criteria, the type of use that they're proposing. Staff asked them a number of questions, you know, if they're either not going to have people come into their space and they're only going to have one a couple of days, or do they have parking for them to accommodate them? Is there going to be much traffic? Most times it's the amount of space in the building meets those criteria, and a number of them have been issued for like a 5-year period. They're renewable. A lot of them happen, and you guys wouldn't know about them, or the neighbors wouldn't know about them, and they go on and operate a small home-based business, pretty benign to the neighborhood. And
As long as it's benign, because
exactly. So that's why I guess I was going to highlight.
because-
There is some conditions there that also, when we give them a permit, it also gives them a chance for it to be revoked. So we give them a 5-year one, it can be revoked. So then if issues do come up after we've approved it, maybe it's year one, or maybe their business grows beyond what they actually thought, they're busier than they thought, and it turns into an issue. There is a clause there that it can be brought forward and we can revoke the one that we gave them.
I guess that the reason for my questions earlier, if the basement was finished bigger, you probably would have been recommending it go ahead, because it probably would have met the requirements under, because it's the car detailing business fits, so it probably would have came to us as a recommendation. We obviously have people, some in the area that have concerns. If neighbors aren't notified that we're receiving an application similar to a rezoning, I'm wondering why that's not part of the process, I guess. Would it just make sense that neighbors get notified that somebody in your area is applying for a home-based business? Here's what they're applying for. Do you have any concerns? Because then after the fact, we don't have to receive complaints and go backwards in a process.
And I guess I would be guessing we probably get 20 to 50 of these that are ongoing and never an issue, or
No issue.
rarely an issue, and change the process for one where we already built in a process that if one is an issue, comes back before it's revoked, you know? There is, I guess, as you mentioned, there is steps there that says here's the type of things that are allowed. It clearly itemized, you know, you're not to be doing undue noise, traffic. So there's clauses there that say, look, you know full well, in this particular case, if it had to come in, like this would come in afterwards, we knew there was issues already brought forward, it would, in this particular case, but if they had to come in and there was no issues, if I'll say Councillor Campbell wanted to do one, he had it, there was no issues that had happened, it probably would have been happening in his garage, and nobody know it, do one a day or something, and, but I guess what's also changed since, I'll highlight is since March, the Province Building Code Act came into effect in March, and as part of their regulations, they've adopted sections to deal with home-based business, so part of their regulations. And at the same time these regulations were coming about was when our rezoning bylaws and stuff were changing. So the criteria of this square footage of the 25% matches what the province requires. So even if we chose to say, oh, well, this is all well and good, now in order to get, as of March or now, in order to get a home-based business, even if we do approve it, they're required now to get a building permit. Right. And part of the building permit, they're gonna have to go through and say, you need to meet these criteria and you can't be over 25%. It's not our rule, it's then now it's a regulation in the provincial act, so, which supersedes our own bylaw. That's why we married up the numbers to match. Yeah.
Thank you.
Back to this
So-
percentage again.
Yeah, thanks.
So, attached to the recommendation is section 9.4 of the zoning bylaw there, and we should, I guess, at least table that as part of the recommendation. And you'll note on that it defines eligible home businesses, and car detailing was one of those. And you'll also notice on item E on that list, it says, notwithstanding the generalities, no residential property shall be used for any commercial purpose which would generate, highlighted there is undue noise or traffic, which would be detrimental to the enjoyment of the properties in the surrounding neighborhood. So there is the protection clauses there that give staff the authority they need to make the decisions there.
I totally agree. I'm just thinking of protecting both parties. So
Yeah.
if Mr. McKendrick never was running any car detailing business in his home and met the other requirements and came in, so we never had any complaints.
Yep.
It just happens we receive complaints. So he comes in and says, you know what, I bought this house, I really want to make a business in my home,
Yep.
and it fits the requirements, and then we say, okay, go ahead and do it without
Good.
doing any work ahead of time with neighbors, any concerns they may have, and then he goes and puts money into home-based business, whatever, and then after the fact, we come in a month or two later and say, oh no, it's too noisy now. I was just wondering if there's a protection piece we can put in there, or maybe not. I'm just wondering if it's a worthwhile exercise to look at that, so we
But-
don't have what
but-
Councilor McColeman was saying within her property, that after the fact, there was complaints of home-based business, so
But-
that's what I was trying to say.
So there is,
Yeah, the 5-year, they can revoke within 5 years.
so there is,
Yeah.
there are other conditions that we put on, that we can put on these conditional use permits. In most of them, as Aaron noted previously, it's a home office. Somebody doing a home office, maybe some accounting and whatever, something light. In this case, there's also, we would, in this case, for this particular one, we would probably circulate this as well to municipal services, perhaps police, to get their comments on parking issues. Maybe they want to put a commercial water meter on, maybe they need floor drainage. There could be some other considerations for this, so that would be considered before we would ever issue that approval.
Through you, Mr.
Okay, any other questions or comments
Well,
before we
just
have the
a-
vote here?
Well,
I
yeah.
just one, and I think maybe Linda just answered it there in regards to home-based business and working from home. We know this last 4 months, so many people had to work from home, whether it's the city staff or government staff or federal government or businesses at Slemon Park and wherever. So, but I think you just answered it, that there are provisions in there for doing accounting from their home. So I'm just wondering, with this new world we're living in here now, and I think my friends from Charlottetown, I was talking with the mayor, and so many of the businesses that used to work are now all home. So I don't think we need anything to cover that, but because it's basically everybody working from home. It depends on what I guess they're doing, but what fits. But I just was thinking, as this was being discussed, with this new world we're living in, do we have to keep an eye on the regulations some way, shape, or form? Who knows when things will go back to normal, if they do.
Yeah, I think it's a different situation right now,
Yeah.
for sure. But like I say, a lot of these businesses that are set up for home-based business, they have a sign in front yard, perhaps that they have a hair salon or accounting services or whatever. Now, we have restrictions to the size of those signs, but they're still compatible to your neighborhood. And again, I don't see an issue with people having to work from home during the crisis, for sure.
No, I don't see it as an issue. I'm just
Councillor?
wondering.
Yeah, I just
Excuse me.
wanted to point out, I think, to Linda's explanation there of the process, but I believe this business was operating prior to applying, and I think that's where the issue stemmed from, right? So.
Deputy Mayor.
Just to clarify too, when I made my earlier comments, I think, a home-based business, if it's not, causing disruption or an impact on quality of life for the neighbors, then, most people, I think, are very accepting. I think in the case that we ran into, it was because of the noise. And, we had people with a bed and breakfast. We had somebody that was quite ill and needed their rest and those sorts of things. And it made it very, very difficult. And when people started to lose guests or people that were guests in the bed and breakfast, which would be a quiet establishment, then it really started to impact in that manner. So that's where I stand on it.
Councillor Ramsey.
And I'll just finish with this because I support home-based business as well, 100%. I'm just concerned with the amount of complaint regarding this particular business, that it would not be good for that area. So anyway, that's all I have to say.
So we will call the question. Just to be clear, what we're voting on here, a vote for is reversing staff's decision, or recommendation to council that staff's decision be overruled or reversed. A vote against is we're upholding staff's decision that.
I thought we were voting to take it yes or no to council.
Yes, the recommendation to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you still, just as I mentioned, you still need to,
Yeah,
it's not just taking it to council, planning board is making a,
Right.
the recommendation. So a vote for by planning board is a recommendation to council that we reverse staff's decision. A vote against is that we uphold staff's decision. I don't know if I can simplify it any more than that. This is just the planning board vote at this point in time.
So what, and the motion was on the positive side.
The motion was on the positive, and I'll read it again. The planning board recommendation, the application from Billy McKendrick for conditional use approval for a home-based business car detailing at 490 North Market Street be recommended to be approved by council. It was moved by Councillor Ramsey and seconded by Councillor Adams. So everybody understands the motion and understands the.
Shouldn't say to be approval or denied.
Be recommended to be approved by council, is what it says. So if the motion's not supported, then it would be denied, yeah. Yeah, a little confusing, but I
Can I
think.
just ask one more question so I'm clear on this?
Yeah.
Councillor? Between now and the council meeting, after this decision, can it be appealed, this decision be appealed before the council meeting?
No, because it's just a recommendation to council
Okay.
from planning board at this point,
Okay?
would be my understanding? No, there's no decision, it's just the recommendation to planning board, so. Everybody understand the question? We'll call for the vote then for planning board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. In favor of going to council?
No, in favor of.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it is confusing.
You're voting on whether to allow the appeal, right?
Yeah.
appeal council's decision, so if you vote in favor, then you're saying, yes, I agree with the appeal. If you vote against, then you're saying, no, I don't.
You don't- Yeah. Okay, call the question again there. Maybe we should have a show of hands. All those in favor of the motion, raise their right hand. All those against the motion, raise their left hand. Okay. So it's unanimous. Okay. The motion was defeated. So
So it doesn't go to council?
it goes to council, still goes to council as a recommendation that it not be,
So
yeah,
there's another vote.
so there will be another motion that hopefully is clearer for council at that time, so.
Linda, you're shaking your head, does that make sense?
Normally,
Positive motions, yeah.
they're positive motions, so you have, if you
Yeah,
want to defeat
that's
them,
where
you
the
have to-
confusion comes in, because normally you would have positive motions.
Council's not voting on the actual permit, right? You're voting on the appeal,
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean?
But
Thanks
shouldn't,
for that.
I'm sorry, but shouldn't we have voted, or the planning board should have voted to send that to council for approval or denial at the monthly council meeting? Is the way it should have worked. Yeah, yeah, that's normally the way it works.
That would-
Whether I agree with it or not, and if I was on the planning board, I would send it to council, because it's a full
Well,
council.
that's what it's doing, though. The wording of this is doing that.
Yeah,
We
that's exactly
recommend
what
it to
you
be
just did.
approved by council.
Okay, all right, good.
So it's the same wording in a different way.
I'll go back to sleep.
Okay, I guess we don't need to have a motion for adjournment probably. We'll just call the planning board adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Tech Services, Vice Chair, Councilor Corey, Snow.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to call the September 1st Technical Service Committee to order. Could I get an approval of the agenda? It's only me and yourself, Your Worship. Thank you. So first up is recommendation of 327 Notre Dame Street unsightly property. We have a recommendation. Council provide direction for addressing the property located at 327 Notre Dame Street in accordance with bylaw CS 11. Supporting explanation. Purpose is to obtain council direction for addressing the property at 327 Notre Dame Street as required in accordance to bylaw CS 11, if not completed in a timely manner by the owner. Background. As a result of a complaint of an unsightly building referred to technical services, the house located at 327 Notre Dame Street was reviewed by the building inspector on May 15, 2020. The house was found to be occupied and in a state of exterior disrepair, in that the roof shingles have deteriorated to a point that the entire roof requires replacement, and in some areas the roof sheathing boards are exposed. Notice letters were sent on May 15, 2020 by registered mail to the property owners. Canada Post tracking indicates that both letters were delivered on May 19, 2020. Per the notice letter, the owners were to obtain a building permit within 30 days of receipt of the notice letter, June 19, 2020, to repair the roof. The building permit conditions would state the work would have to be completed within 60 days of the date of the permit issuance and to be in conformance with the notice. On June 19, 2020, one of the owners visited Technical Services Department and submitted an application for a building permit to repair the roof of the building. On June 22, 2020, the permit was issued with a compliance date of August 24, 2020, to complete the repairs. To date, the owners have failed to sign for the permit. There was to be no fee for the permit, as the permit has not been signed by the compliance date to obtain the permit, June 19, 2020. The work was not completed by the compliance date of August 24, 2020. The owners are not in compliance with the requirements of the notice. Per CS 11, Section 9.1, council is to be advised when the owner does not comply with the requirements of the notice. 9. Non-compliance. 9.1, where the owner of the property upon whom a notice pursuant to Section 8 has been served does not comply with the requirements of such notice. The inspector shall immediately notify council who may by resolution authorize an inspector to enter the property without written warrant or other legal process, and thereupon carry out any and all work as stated in the notice in order to bring the property into compliance with the requirements of this bylaw. 9.2, a resolution passed by council under section 9.1 shall be in effect for 48 months from the date of passing and enables the inspector to re-enter the property at any time to remedy the recurring conditions. 9.3, the inspector or his designate shall cause the cost of such vacation, repair, or demolition, or other work done to be charged to the owner, and failing receipt payment within 30 days therefrom from the owner, such as cost shall be charged against the property as a municipal lien or to be recorded in a lawsuit against the owner. We have some options. Option 1 is to maintain status quo. 2 is to extend the date to allow for the owners to comply with a revised notice would be required. 3, proceed with the fines for the offense of disregard of notice per section 11 of bylaw CS 11. 11, offenses for disregarding notice. 11.1, any owner who fails to comply with all terms of a dangerous and hazardous building notice issued pursuant to section 7.2 of this bylaw shall be guilty of an offense and liable on a summary conviction to a fine not less than $100 and not exceeding $500. 4, city to repair the roof and invoice the owner for the work. Cost or financial impact, cost of roof replacement is estimated at $15,000 to $20,000. There is a letter, I won't read it, but it's in the record, that was issued to the property owner. And then there's some pictures in the package of the house in question and the roof. With that, you're looking for us to,
I guess if you, as you voted by it in the background, the complaint came forward, we walked it through all the steps, all the time periods have been granted. Once they expire, the outline of the bylaw is to bring it back to council for action, direction.
questions, your worship? Do you have, no, Councillor Ramsey?
Well, I guess my question would be, is it affordable to the homeowner to have this repaired, you know? Like, if I had to come up with $20,000, $15,000 or $20,000, you know, in a hurry, that could be a problem. So I guess my question is like, how...
Realistic.
Yeah, how realistic is it to, you know?
Obviously this is a house that's in my ward, and when I don't even want to call them complaints. I think when concerns started coming forward regarding it, the message I gave to our CAO was to have conversations with the homeowner to see what the possibilities are, and either get them in contact with province or see what is actually realistic. To Barb's point, it's half a roof's better than no roof. So I mean, I don't know what I don't know where to go with this, to be honest. I think it's safe to say from the beginning I've been a component of making sure properties are, you know, not unsightly and cared for and resemble the pride of our city. But if you're only have whatever means, then that you only have whatever means. I don't know if I don't know the issue here or the extent, and I didn't get a response back. I was surprised to actually see this on the agenda, so I don't know. The last I heard, there was contact with the property owner, and things were being discussed to get it repaired. So.
Is it occupied?
Yeah, it's occupied. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember a court case a number of years ago, and you heard me say this before, but we lost the case in court. The judge said what's unsightly to you may not be unsightly to somebody else, and threw the case out. So.
And I agree with your worship, but this I think is under the dangerous and hazardous. It would be the exterior roof is open, so rain or whatever would be going into the house. So we would want people to be safe in their own home too, right? So I think as council, we have an obligation not only to uphold dangerous and unsightly properties, but also to try to assist homeowners or get them in contact with people that can help them achieve realistic solutions if they can't get it solved. So I don't know what has been done with this property in the meantime. I wouldn't be against, you know, giving them a little more time and making sure that all the T's were crossed, I's were dotted, that we were making sure that they had every chance they had to either get in contact with people or to, it's not easy. We've had several calls over people trying to get in contact with home renovation programs, with the province, other programs that they're not getting calls back, they're not getting return calls from the province. I'm sure they're busy, right? So, as well with lots of stuff. So I'd hate to step too quickly on something if there's a solution that doesn't make us be so heavy-handed, so.
What about the timing? I just think of the old government garage, how much time he got to, or they, or whoever owns it, and some other properties.
I think the timing's awful when you think of the government garage, Hong College,
Yeah.
Summer Street Bars. I think that's why I was saying I was surprised to see this on the agenda.
So what's the request for tonight? Is just for information?
Well,
Or is there,
I guess really is the timing, I guess, is that the issue came to us in May. And what we outlined as far as the parameters that we have identified or in our rules or guidelines is we tried to identify those deadlines. And the applicant came in on, as you could go back through, May 15th or May 19th. And they had 30 days. Well, they came in on June 19th on the 30th day and applied for a permit. 2 days later, we issued them a permit. We also contacted them on the 22nd to say your permit is ready, and that's it. We haven't, so when they have the permit in, say, June 22nd, and then I think they had 60 days to do the work, so then it's July, then it's August, so August 24th, that time period is elapsed. So now what we're directed to with our guidelines is if those are expire, to bring it to council. So we're bringing it forward to you and saying, here's the situation, it came in May, and you know, what is the right amount of time frame? I mean, I can't say what's right, what's wrong, but it was May, we gave the 30 days, so they committed the 30th day, got a permit. We still gave you 2 months to do the work. It's not like, you know, and there wasn't any contact to say, you know, I haven't got anybody to do this, but I'm gonna have it done by October, you know, but, so yeah, we're just trying to follow the guidelines that are there, bring it forward to you guys to say, here's what he's asked about, here's also some options, which way do you want us to proceed?
As I read through the options, 3 is issuing fines, which I don't think that helps anything in this case when a homeowner's trying to come up with a significant amount.
Yep.
If we repair it and invoice, then that doesn't necessarily help them either, because if they can't pay for it, I think if we could extend the
I don't
time
think
frame
we
and
have
make,
to.
I don't know what options we have, but if there's a way to make some contacts with the province or make sure they're at
Well,
least and
just-
them and see what the options are.
I don't think that we can make people, I'm sorry, but just make people put a roof on. Like if they want to repair their roof and it costs them $700 to repair their roof, then that's all they need to do. We
yeah.
can't say you got to spend $15,000 or $20,000 for a new roof. Like,
I would agree.
I don't think, you know, anyway, I'm sorry, because that just is in my head. Sorry, I spoke out of turn, but I don't know what it would cost to have those holes fixed. And I know hazardous and safety and hazards and that's our concern, but if they repaired the roof, I don't think anybody should be able to say, you gotta spend $15,000 or $20,000 on a roof.
Again, we're providing that estimate because we're anticipating what the questions are going to come for us. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you want us to do it? We're going to do it. How much is that going to be? How much are we going to have to outlay to do this roof? If we were to do it, we wouldn't just come and fix where, I mean, those are boards that you're seeing through. The other pictures show the other side of the house. The shingles are all curled up and missing. If we were doing it, you wouldn't just come in and do
Right.
right? So we're trying to show you the magnitude of the ask. If you guys say, well, we got to go in there and the city fix it and build them, you say, well, how much is that? How much are we putting on the hook here to do it? That's a ballpark. We haven't priced it out. And in regards to the fines, we're just trying to tell you there's the options. If they didn't do it, someone could say, look, they've had enough time, what's their hammer? You'd say, what's our hammer? That's what our hammer is, and our hammer right now is a lot less that the bylaw has been revised. The bylaw was revised this year by, I'm not sure who revised them, but the bylaw is $500 penalty, that's it. Before, it used to be a penalty per day. So whatever the revisions happened here in February, or whatever you guys did them, those fines got changed. So if you get somebody that's really non-compliant, your hammer is $500, that's it. Not $500 per day like you used to have.
And you can't force them to repair it.
Sorry?
He'd be farther ahead to go with $500 than the 20,000. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just giving you the background. You're gonna ask, what's the hammer in different situations, right? Your rules have changed, and you guys have adopted them and changed them.
Well, I can just speak for myself as one member of tech services. I would rather us, with this case in particular, extend the date and see if we can massage the situation to get them into compliance. To Barb's point, I don't think we can force them to put $15,000 roof on it, but I think it's reasonable to hope that our homeowners or people living in our city are living in safe buildings, regardless if they're renting or owning or whatever. There's an obligation to make sure our buildings in our city are safe. So, but I think some work with the homeowner and see if there's anything that can be done, and then go from there. That would be my idea.
And I agree, Corey. I have no problem getting them a little more time as long as there's some progress made or we see something. But as Aaron was talking about the bylaw, I think we have a real problem with this bylaw, our unsightly bylaw. I've been working on this. It hasn't even come to council yet. I've been working with staff to try and get this residents in my ward looked after. And I see tonight where our building inspector was allowed to go on this property. Was he asked by the...
Didn't go on this property.
He didn't go on.
Just
did
did
the back of the house.
Just take a picture so you can show the pictures there. As far as I know, just
Okay.
Our staff, that's one of the pieces of the bylaw. Staff aren't allowed to enter onto private property
You're right.
until there's a resolution from council.
Yeah.
These are three sitting on the street frontages to say, here's what I see from the street.
Okay.
And
Oh, I understood that they went. Anyway, the issue, right.
Previous topic, we went on the property, dealing with the property owner and measured this property. Previous topic.
The issue I have is, and I don't want to go into a whole lot because it's not on this council yet, but it will be coming forward. I've had the police department involved. I've had tech services involved. I've had the building inspector involved. I had the CAO involved. I had the fire chief involved. And I asked to have the fire marshal give his opinion. And as far as everybody's concerned, it can just stay the way it is. And I'll tell you the address later, but it's terrible, and if it was beside my place or your place, we'd be doing something about it, and it's wrong. So if this bylaw is not allowing us to do anything with that property, we need to look at this bylaw.
So
This current bylaw is allowing you options on this property right now. That's why we tried to allow.
On this property?
Correct.
Right.
So what you're saying, Deputy, Councilor McDougall,
Yeah.
if the city had a bylaw officer, they wouldn't have any more authority than the fire chief or the fire marshal or the police chief.
That is my
Protect
point.
services.
We need something, and the bylaw officer, when the proper time comes along and we have everything's, I would support it, but not until we have a new bylaw, because as far as I'm concerned, we're letting people, their property values all around them go down. And one person has just sold, and it was wrong what happened to him. So,
I've been preaching that from almost 2 years now. I definitely think I'm glad other people are starting to,
I wouldn't
Take
say
some
other
interest.
I wouldn't say other people are starting to take interest. I think other people have had interest for a while.
Yeah.
Because the bylaw was reviewed 2 years ago, 3
Yeah.
years ago, at the request of some of us.
Right.
And I think some of us, I mean, I have a 6-year history of trying to get that bylaw
Yeah.
reviewed. So, you know, to suggest that others aren't interested in reviewing that bylaw is not appropriate. And I would, and I agree that, you know, to expect a citizen to come up with 20 grand for complete roof replacements. But I drove by that this afternoon just to have a peek before the meeting there, and I mean, the boards are all exposed. There has to be water getting in, and with winter coming on, it becomes even more acute. So, you know, I know these seniors,
I'm not sure. It's
Yeah,
two
because-
owners that are still on.
because if they are seniors, I mean, they're eligible for some provincial government money to help them assist with home repair and stuff like that. So I agree with you know, Councillor Snow that we should try to work with them to help them solve the problem and give them some more time to do so, because you know, it just needs to get tight. And I understand, Aaron, if we were doing it, we'd do a complete roof replacement. These people just need to get through. They're just trying to get through next winter, probably. You know, so anything we can do to do that, I think would be appropriate. So.
Councillor Adams?
I just have three things. I find it ironic that this is a safety issue, but yet somebody can live in a camper in -40, and that's not a safety issue. We have a real problem there. To my knowledge, the city's not in a roofing business. I don't think we should be putting a roof on for somebody and looking for any payment in return. We have provincial MLAs that this person, or maybe we could weave that way so they could assist them. I think they probably should be stepping up right now to try and get this person some provincial assistance, or on a program that can help them for sure. So they might need to get a little bug in their ear that they have a constituent as well that needs some help.
Agreed. Any other questions or comments? So I think from the conversation, Your Worship, it sounds like we're looking to extend the date to allow for the owners to comply with the revised notice would be required.
Is there a diary date or just?
But that's just what our note was. A revised notice would have to be,
With
our notice, if you give us a date, we would like to formalize it and say it's, if not, we'll be back here saying, how much time did you give the room? What do you guys want? How much time? And we'll do up another revised notice. Again, these are not our options. We're providing you options. We're not
Yeah.
saying this is our staff's opinion. We're just saying there's your options so that you can pick from.
What did we give them last time as a time frame?
I think initially we gave them 30 days, and then they had 60 days to do the work,
Right.
you know. But
To follow up on Councillor Adams's point, we're setting a precedent here on this. With some of the other concerns that we have, one was living in the camper, I guess, and maybe some other things. But whatever we do, we should try and keep the whole thing in mind here, so we're fair with everybody, I guess. Would be.
well, we had three on
Including the
we had
citizens.
3 on the agenda, and we took one off at the last minute because they come in before the agenda, and the third one has now. We'll get to it shortly, but yeah, there's more than one that we've been working on there.
Is that the one on Chestnut Avenue? I'm not going to give the street address, but
No, we had one on Water Street that got resolved, or it's in the process of being resolved, and we have another one on the agenda is
It's yeah.
Central Street, yes.
did the one on Chestnut get solved?
Depends who you ask.
Pardon?
Depends who you ask.
It didn't? So I guess we want to be careful here in the time. I got no problem with, but whatever we do, it's got to be kind of take others into consideration as well.
Yep. That's not to say that you don't give another extension if you find out information. I'm just saying we would like a date, a time frame, so we can advise to say, and if we don't hear back with that time frame, we'll be back to you to say, you know.
So let's, I'm fine with giving them the same amount of time and making some contacts and seeing if we can help them along the process. We should have a better understanding of what's going on through some conversations with the
More
homeowner.
information be brought back at a monthly meeting, is that enough time to 2 or 3 weeks?
2 or 3 weeks, does that make sense?
I have no idea who these agencies are that you're asking staff to contact and what you're stating.
Well, I would say staff should contact the homeowner first, get some information from them, and then based on that information from the homeowner, they're either gonna say, we just didn't wanna do it, or we can't afford to do it, or whatever, and we can hopefully determine from then, but I don't know what other options we have. I think we've all said that going in and doing the work to do it, or forcing them to put on a new roof, doesn't make a lot of sense with a lot of the other issues we've been trying to deal with within our city that seems to drag on for years and years, so.
You have the option to go in and patch it yourselves as well. It says up to, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Yes. Like, the city, go in, you.
Contractor to do it.
Right, like as far as, yes, not our own staff, but you would basically say, look, we're either gonna patch it or spend good money after bad, you know, like, what?
Well, I think if we start it now, we give them the same time frame, we should be able to have some sort of understanding of what we're facing before we get into the heart of winter, and we can figure it out from that time frame.
Okay, it's September 1st today, what is what?
So 90 days will bring us till December, and that would be able to, yeah, before winter. So so just so we're clear, somebody from the city reaching out to the homeowner, I don't mind reaching out to the homeowner, but there needs to be a process here for this type of stuff within our city, so what would we?
I think what Director McDonald, though, has stated is staff have reached out through the process on multiple occasions, and the homeowners have not responded back. So I guess if you're asking staff to continue to reach out, then staff will do that, but there may not be a response.
Well, and I think that's fair, but there was a response. They at least came in, they recognized, who knows what's happened in the last couple months with whoever, lots of life happens, and maybe they got tied up in other stuff. So I think just given the process, I think it's a fair thing to do.
Just a comment, I just want to go back to Councillor Adams' point that if there's some provincial programs and our MLAs that are responsible of those districts, then possibly they should be stepping up to the plate, because if we don't have the process, and we've heard that back from the residents, we're the municipality. But if there is a provincial program, then I agree with what's being suggested, that really our MLAs that are responsible for those districts, they really should be stepping up to the plate. That's the process.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. You good with that one, Aaron? Are you good with the times, the dates?
I guess I'm not, I like to be clear.
90
days, I got
Yep.
written down.
Yep.
Who's contacted the province, what agencies? Like I say, I work here.
I think the next step is for us to contact the homeowner.
Yep.
Try to get contact with the homeowner by our monthly meeting, and it can come back, and we can, if there's no contact with the homeowner, then we'll have to make some decisions, but let's do whatever we can to get a conversation with them.
Is there a phone number for the MLA of that district that would fall in that district, that the residents could be given their phone number?
I'll stop and knock on the person's
okay.
door and talk to them, and like something needs to happen. There should be a process, yeah. Yeah.
Just one final question to you, Mr. Chair. I know, according to the pictures, the homes are fairly close there, but besides the unsightliness or whatever, and the holes in the roof, I know we had complaints in the government garage where parts were, on a windy day, or boards or whatever, were blowing onto the properties. Is there anything going off the roof of this house that's hitting the other properties, or people walking in that area?
There's been no complaints to me about anything unsightly or the complaint that came through to me was concerned of the amount of water and stuff that might be going in the house if somebody's living in there. That's the only concern. That was the concern that was brought forward. And at that time to the CAO, I said we should handle this with some sensitivity, have a chat with the homeowner and see what either can be done, or if there's somebody we can put them in contact with through the province if they're not able to do the repairs. That's why I'm saying I was surprised to see it on the agenda tonight.
You see that there's boards off of the roof, so it must have fallen someplace.
Yeah, no, for sure, yeah, but there's been no, to your point, there's been no complaints from neighboring properties or anything.
So has the director got,
Reach out, homeowner contact, 90-day possible extension. Try and get back to us by the monthly meeting if contact's been made. And again, we don't have I don't know what the word is, social services or program agency with our municipality. I don't know who those counterparts are, but I guess the local, you guys probably have more contact with your provincial counterparts than we do. So we'll try and work with the councillor in that region to try and connect with the provincial, I don't even know the wards, who was here. I'm saying, so we'll work with the councillor in that area to determine provincial contacts.
so what's the result of that? What's the story in the 90 days? What happens come 90 days?
It's basically redoing the process that we already tried to go through that wasn't followed, but we're hoping either it will be followed if they have the capabilities of doing it, or if not, we'll be able to put them in contact with somebody or try to help along with the situation. Through that 90 days, we'll figure out.
We would give them a 90-day extension of the building permit. We already have where they've committed to get a building permit. The first 30 days was basically a notice of an unsafe so then we gave them 60 days to complete the work. We would revise now and say you have an additional 90 days to complete the work and please come in and So it's not the entire process, just we gave them 90 days from start to finish. My understanding is 90 days now to get them so that it's September, October, by December 1st, you're hoping that this is completed.
Exactly.
Or tight. I don't mean like they.
No, I don't.
Some measures made to make the building tight.
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is recommendation PID 71126, Central Street unsightly. 71126. Is that what did I say? 226?
It's 71226 on mine.
Well, it's 71126 on the agenda, and 71226 on the,
The problem is there's no civic number because there's no house on it, so.
there's two different PIDs, I guess is the issue.
Sure.
What was the number? Where is it?
It's on Central Street. Upper Central Street, north of Pope Road, on the west side of the road.
So, based on the recommendation, we're gonna go with 71226 Central Street unsightly property. Council passed a resolution to authorize the building officer to carry out any work related to securing the property located at PID 71126 between 424 and 428 Central Street in accordance with bylaw CS 11 up to and including demolition of the building if not completed in a timely manner by the owner. Supporting explanation. Purpose: to obtain by council resolution the authority to address the property at PID 71126, it changed again, 426 Central Street as required in accordance to bylaw CS 11 if not completed in a timely manner by the owner. Background: as a result of a complaint received from a neighbor regarding an unsafe building and vermin living in the building, the accessory building located at PID 71126, 426 Central Street was reviewed by the building inspector on July 9, 2020. The building was found to be vacant and in a state of exterior disrepair. With holes in the roof and in the siding, there was evidence that vermin may be occupying the building. The building was not entered. A dangerous or hazardous building notice was posted on the building on July 17, 2020, and a copy of the notice letter dated July 17, 2020 was sent by registered mail to the property owner. Canada Post tracking indicates that the letter was delivered on July 20th, 2020. Per the notice letter, the owner was to obtain a building permit by August 17, 2020, to either repair or demolish the building. The building permit conditions would state the work would have to be completed within 30 days of the date of the permit issuance to be in compliance, to be in conformance with the notice. To date, the owner has not made any contact with technical services, and the date to obtain a building permit to be in compliance with the notice has passed. Per CS 11, Section 9.1, council is to be advised when the owner does not comply with the requirements of a notice. 9. Non-compliance. 9.1, where the owner of the property upon whom the notice pursuant to Section 8 has been served does not comply with the requirements of such notice, the inspector shall immediately notify council, who may, by resolution, authorize an inspector to enter the property without written warrant or other legal process, and thereupon carry out any and all work as stated in the notice in order to bring the property in compliance with the requirements of this bylaw. A resolution passed by council under Section 9.1 shall be in effect for 48 months from the date of passing and enables the inspector to re-enter the property at any time to remedy the recurring condition. 9.3, the inspector or his designate shall cause the cost of such vacation, repair, demolition, or other work done to be charged to the owner, and failing receipt of payment within 30 days therefrom from the owner, such cost shall be charged against the property as a municipal lien or to be recorded in a lawsuit against the owner. Cost and financial impact. Cost to secure the building estimated between $1,000 and $1,500. Cost of repairs to secure the building from vermin, siding, patching, and roofing estimated between $3,500 and $4,500. Cost to demolition estimated between $4,000 and $5,000. Contents of the building unknown. Estimates do not include pest control. So there's a copy of the letter that was sent to the homeowner, and there is pictures in the package of the building in question.
I'd like to add an update to it, okay?
Okay, yep.
Again, you can go through the pictures. This meeting package was prepared. It goes out on Wednesday or on Thursday, ironically. The homeowner came in. The homeowner, the address we have lists a Summerside address in another part of town. The property owner doesn't live there, so whether there was a lapse in time of getting mail, they live in another end of the island. I'm not sure if they're aware of the state of the building and everything else, but they come in a panic saying, I got this notice, and they landed up, and they were basically, so since then, they come in on the 27th, looking for a permit to possibly demolish it. They hadn't even been up to the building. They hadn't even, so we gave them a permit on the 31st, and they've landed up with the trailer to try and investigate what's in the building, what they can salvage, and our understanding is they're going to try and demolish the building, so we gave them until September 30th to complete it. But we still want to follow through the process so that we're not going back if we still follow through the process. If they don't comply by that time, we will not have to restart the process. Well, it's not down yet. It's not down yet, but it's.
So we're sort of consistent with this one, like the last one we talked about.
Yes, we followed the process. We're bringing it back to you, and ironically, I mean, they didn't know, but it was still, the package was out. They're living in another part of the province, and it took time for them probably to get the mail from either their relative or whoever has the property that's listed it. And so there is a truck and trailer on the site now when I went by there to go, and he was here with the truck and trailer, and the trailer is still there, so we know they've been up and into the building to try and look at the contents. So they have a permit. They have until, so the permit would have been issued on the 31st, so they got, again, 30 days to do the work because it's just a demo. It's not like so we'll know by September 30th. But we'd still like it to process to your monthly meeting, and if it actually doesn't happen, we still have.
So the truck and trailer is not a living-in trailer, is it?
No, it's just like a utility trailer to basically, if there's contents, we didn't go in the building. If there's contents of value, they're going to have to try and take it out or. Yeah. Possibly, yeah. So that.
So that is everything on the technical services agenda.
Thank you very much. Any
Call for
questions for
adjournment.
the chair, or is that pretty well it? Thank you. I guess.
Just one other, I guess I would update is on that, is that the other property that, there's a property on Water Street. It was in your package as well.
Yes.
And the property owner has come in and signed for the permit, so they have, again, 60 days to complete it. They do have people there that are on site. They did originally go in and try and clean up the property. They were trying to decide if they're going to demo or they were going to tear off pieces of it and rebuild. They did decide they're going to demo, but now they have staff, or people by, I should say staff. There's people there going through, taking stuff out of the property, so it's in the process. And we gave them, I think, until October 17th, I think.
October 17th to demolish it?
Yeah. So that one was on the agenda, but
I'm trying to
Is that
think
street
what-
address here?
I can send it. I can send
Yes.
it to you. He's in compliance. I didn't want to do it at the meeting
Yeah.
and have them.
That's in my ward.
Yeah. It's on Water Street.
Yeah.
So
You know where it is, Dave?
I'll
That's
send.
okay.
I'll send you the address.
We can get it later. Thank you. Chief of Police Dave Poirier, I believe you're taking the head chair. And we'll continue on with the committee meeting. We have Police, Fire, and Emergency Services.
No problem.
Councillor Barb Ramsey, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Thanks, Aaron.
So, what's going on here? Losing everything. So I'd like to call the meeting to order, please, and ask for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Mayor. So before I get into the committee agenda, I just have a couple of things that I would like to make folks aware of. And I know over the last while, we've been getting a lot of concerns and questions and complaints and on our drug-related issues here in Summerside. And as chairperson of the police committee, there have been many concerns regarding drug-related issues within our city. I am in I wanted to ensure people that I'm in regular contact with Chief Poirier and know that our police service, along with Prince District Joint Forces Drug Section, are working hard at dealing with these issues. We do know that enforcement is an important part of dealing with this problem. Our drug investigators have laid a significant number of charges and seized a large quantity of illicit drugs over the last few years, and that work will not stop. Just as important are education, awareness, and treatment for those affected, and with not only addictions, but associated mental health issues. Our police service is committed to continuing to work with the community and our policing partners to continue to deal with these concerns. Just wanted to make the community aware that we're having regular meetings with the police, and thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief Poirier, and your team for all the hard work that you guys are putting into this. And I need to say that I've been getting calls from other municipalities larger than ours, letting us know what a great job our police force and joint forces are doing in Summerside. So I wanted to let folks know that, and I also want to make everyone aware that as of mid-August, police services have started a campaign regarding our slowing down our vehicles, I guess is the best way to put it, our speeding issue here in Summerside. It's been ongoing, and all councillors have been receiving complaints regarding speeding. So we're pleased that this campaign has started and would ask that the residents please slow down and be aware that our police are out there and people are being ticketed for speeding. And I'm really happy about this campaign starting, and anyone that has any concerns or issues, try and get some license plate numbers and call police or send them off to me, but they're working hard at trying to deal with this issue, and thanks again, Chief Poirier, for that. So those are the two announcements that I have.
Barb, just on that last point regarding the speed.
Yep.
Police are aware of the areas that we have been receiving complaints and are looking at those areas. Yeah.
Oh, you're,
Just hit your button. Right.
We have about a dozen hotspots, and if council has more, send them along to
Exactly.
me and we'll make sure they get to them.
No, perfect, thanks.
Councillor Carey?
Did you want me to wait till you're done, or do you mind if I just?
You
say
go right
something?
ahead. You go
Um,
right ahead.
I just want to speak for a moment. I want to thank Councillor Ramsey for bringing this topic forward. We've met on it, and we both feel the same about the importance of the drug issue, among many other ones in our city. After meeting with several residents in my ward and seeing what is happening all over our city and throughout our province, it would be ignorant of me not to bring the concerns of my residents forward. First off, I want the provincial government to know that I am not calling you out on what is or is not being done in our city or our province. What I am doing is standing up at the request of my residents to point out the facts. And the main fact is that as a city and a province, we are struggling. We are struggling to support those with mental health and addictions issues that are begging for a place to go, only to be turned away or sent home. These people have nowhere else to go, and we can do better. We are struggling to support our residents whose quality of life in their own homes is deteriorating because their neighbors are selling drugs and stealing from them to pay for their addictions. They cannot leave their property for any period of time and cannot enjoy all the things that a life on PEI has to offer because of what is happening right next door to them. They are constantly on guard to protect their property and their families. We are struggling to support our police officers. We are losing the work of an officer for up to a day at a time while they wait for a busy judge to sign a warrant to act on information they have received, when a telewarrant could be issued over a phone with little cost. We need telewarrants to be reinstated provincially. We are failing judges that have to call jails when sentencing someone to see if there's any room at a provincial facility, when in fact we have a young offenders facility sitting vacant, nearly vacant in our own city. We need this facility to be utilized to its full potential because there is a need for it. I know there are so many other areas that also need help to support our residents. I am not turning a blind eye on these issues for our residents, but I am bringing these ones forward as they have been brought to me in tears by my neighbors, and I have been asked to bring them forward in the hopes that things can start to change for the better for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carey. The telewarrants, and that's something that we got to talk about the other day in the meeting that we had with police services, and I will let folks know, let you know, that did make a call to Blois Thompson, and on September 11th, he's going to meet with us and police services, and he thinks that's, I did explain to him that it's 1 day away from the police services that a police officer would have to take in order to receive a warrant, and that just doesn't make any sense. So we're looking forward to meeting with Minister Thompson, and thank you for bringing that up. And Chief, is there anything that you want to say?
No, the meeting on the 11th is tentative at the moment, but he's promised he will be up
Yeah,
either that day or another, but we haven't had a confirmation yet for sure.
yeah, it is the 11th for sure. We just don't have a time. We're good to go. Yeah,
We're
that's what
hoping.
he told me.
We're hoping.
Yeah, we'll keep our fingers crossed, but that's what Blois said. So anyway, so that's, any other questions on any of that before we move?
I just want to make a comment. Thank you, Councillor Adams, for, I don't know what you want to call it, speech or your notes. I think we've all been hearing the same stuff. We've been seeing a whole lot of unfortunate stuff lately, and it's not a new issue and it's not a Summerside issue, but it's something that we really need to get a hold of with the province and as councillors really start considering as we make any decisions moving forward, because it is such a detriment to our city, and it causes so many ripple effects that is lasting for years. So just thank you, Councillor Adams and Councillor Ramsey, for your work on this. So.
Thank you.
If I could just make a comment on
Yeah.
that too, Councillor Ramsey, I think the time is here or past. And our budget will be coming up in a few months, but I think the time is here where we have to probably have a good look at maybe we need more help, additional officers, because in this day and age with these kinds of problems we're talking about, and school resource officers and other things, I don't think we've added anybody to the police department since amalgamation.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So, you know, I think the time has come, and I know everybody has to have their 2 days a week off, and they have to have holidays, and you have sick time, and you got 3 shifts to cover, and it's a busy city. So I would think maybe council, I would hope that maybe they'll consider that on advice from the police department to see if it's required, but after 25 years, I think with the way the world has changed, and everybody is so mobile. I mean, it's not just Summerside we look after, because on the weekends and other times people move in here, and which is great. They're certainly welcome, but I think council will have a look at, do we need some more staff to help out?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Worship. And like Councillor Adams mentioned, a lot of the issues are related to addictions and mental health issues, and it's really at the forefront now.
Yeah. Deputy Mayor?
Bruce?
Yeah, I'll be very short. I thank you, Councillor Adams, for bringing that forward. That is certainly an issue right across the city, and you know, I don't know what the answer is, but we need help, and thanks for bringing that up. And I also wanted to pass along thanks to the chief and the officers for their work with the speeding. I can tell you that I've seen the lights flashing quite a few times in the last week, and it wasn't in my mirror. So no, it really shows, and I think it slows people down too, that we're out there, and you know, we need to slow the people down. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor.
And I guess my
Deputy Mayor.
comments are to you, Councillor Ramsey, and to Councillor Adams, that bringing that highlight, you know, to the public in our meeting tonight, as well as Chief Dave. And I'll just echo the fact that Mayor Basil has indicated about if there is a need there, come the time where the various departments are putting their budgets together of needs, wants, those sorts of things, it's really important that we hear that. And you know, some of the reasons behind it. And also, this is impacting all wards. Like, I think every ward is running into this situation. So it's something that we need to talk about and do something, take some action on. Okay.
Yes, I believe so too. And I, you know, it's in our city. It's in our larger city. It's everywhere. It's a problem. And so I'm really happy that people are in agreement that we need help. We need more officers on duty over there, and so that will be really nice to, that's not new news. We've been talking about that for a while, but I think when budget time comes, we need to realize where the money needs to be spent. And I think I need to talk for a second about our SRO, who's our police officer at Three Oaks. And I want to thank Brad Trivers for getting back to me. And they did supply, the province did supply the money again to finish his year off for 2021. So thank you for that. And
That's the school year.
This school year, 2021, yeah.
It runs over the budget year, so.
No, but our money is in place as well. We put our money in.
Yes, I know ours, but the province knows.
Theirs, yeah. They've committed. They've committed to theirs till the end of June, right, Kristen? Yes, yeah. So we're good to go there. It looks like he's going to be able to start when school starts. Police may still need him with some of the issues that they have for a while, but hoping in mid-October we can get him there full-time, and, but he'll be in and out of the school for that first 4 or 5 weeks. I think Chief Dave is what we kind of talked about the other day. So that's really good news on that too, and talking about concerns with young people. He's a great asset to Three Oaks High School. So anyway, with that, that wasn't on the agenda. So here we'll get back on track.
So you mean we just got that part for free?
We just got that part out of the way, but you know, we know there's a lot going on right now in the city with the drug issues and mental health, and so we just wanted to bring those things up. And yeah. So right now, I am going to. All right, I have to find it. Yep. I'm looking for I'm in the wrong, here we go. 4-way stop on Willow and Elm Street. So, received a number of calls on Willow and Elm, and Highland and Norman, and there's lots going on up that way. But Elm Street and Willow and Elm Street alone, we're asking for speed bumps just for Elm. So I've received a number of calls, a number of emails regarding that street and that corner. So Councillor Snow and I went up last week and met with some residents regarding the problems on that corner of Willow and Elm. And anyway, they're apparent, and there's a lot of traffic flying through there. So one of the conclusions that we came up with is trying to put a 4-way stop there for now as school's getting started, just to kind of slow the traffic down, and then maybe have tech services go up and take a look and see what can be done, because it's not an actual, Elm is not right straight through. There's just a bit of a curve there before. So wondering what, you know, tech services might be able to do with that intersection, but certainly hoping to put 2 stop signs on Willow to slow the traffic down. And
Yeah, at the present, there's a stop sign coming off Perry.
Yeah, there is.
And one coming down Elm.
That's right. So if we could consider putting one on either side of Elm Street on Willow, that would eliminate a lot of problem and put a lot of parents' mind at ease. It being a school zone, I think, is the major concern. And with school starting next week, we just thought, as well as those residents, thought it was a good time to kind of bring it forward to council. The other thing was Elm Street and maybe putting a couple of speed bumps, because I think you can go a little over a kilometer on Elm Street before you have to stop. You can build up some pretty high speed there before, especially it being right directly in front of the main door from the school. So the other recommendation is that we put a couple of speed bumps along Elm. Yeah.
What's you mean for this year, or
Yeah, as soon as possible.
do we have them in stock?
We would like to put permanent ones there, I think.
Oh, the asphalt?
Yeah, I don't think removing them from in front of the school would be.
Your worship, I believe maybe a couple more in stock of the temporary ones.
To get there right away, you mean?
I'll speak to the acting CAO on that, and we'll look at the speeds and everything else, and
Yeah, just chatting with municipal services, I think if council approves or wants speed humps placed in certain areas, moving forward, the permanent ones have been kind of reviewed by staff as being more cost effective.
More cost effective.
Actually than the, so if there's a place that council says, no, we want speed humps in a certain area, then staff's recommendation will be that you put permanent ones in.
Permanent
I mean,
ones in.
they can be removed, it's not, but.
Councillor,
Yeah.
my question would be, would it be good process to use, since we have a couple temporary ones? Would it make sense to put in temporary ones, put them down, get the feedback from residents? I'm sure
I
there's
know
gonna be-
what you're going to get. You're going to
I'm
get some
sure-
happy residents.
Well, I know, I was there,
Sure.
actually, we were at Elm Street School doing the playground this weekend, and there was the principals, vice principals, teachers, and people that live in that area, specifically on Maple, where I get a lot of complaints about speed from Duke through to the racetrack. And I sort of floated the ideas that were coming up tonight to them, seeing what they thought as people that are around the school lots. We've heard from residents, but the school itself is definitely in favor. And if we're gonna do any type of traffic safety measures anywhere throughout our city, I think it's most logical to do it in around school zones where we have hundreds of kids walking and getting dropped off at school. So you receive complaints after complaints after complaints, and sometimes it's pretty hard to get things done, it seems. So it would be nice if, I guess that's what I mean, if, I agree, I think the feedback would be great, but if we don't want to put in a permanent one to rip it out, we can use the temporary one, see the feedback we're getting, we'll quickly hear from residents if it's effective or not, and then we can do something more permanent. It might be a idea, maybe not, but
Well, I know that I sent emails out today that people are watching here this evening because they want the speed bumps, and I let them know that it was going to be on the agenda this evening. So they assured me that they'd be watching for results. So anyway, I guess I would like to put a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, Carrie. Sorry, I didn't.
I was wondering now, with the announcement of the dome coming to, will that affect the layout of Willow any with that? Is it going to impact the road any?
It shouldn't.
There's nothing?
It shouldn't, Carrie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know it is sort of, to me, it's sort of like Victoria, as Brian can attest to. It's sort of a cut across street.
Oh, will it make it busier? Probably.
Well, no, and I'm just, what I'm saying is, like, I do drop off at Elm Street every morning. There's 3 of us work in the same building. 3 of us take a different way. One takes Perry, one goes out and goes Greenwood, and I go down Duke. So Willow is used, right? So that's why I was wondering if if when the dome comes in, if the layout of the land was going to have to change any and impact the road. So, okay.
It shouldn't change the infrastructure, but it'll certainly change the amount of traffic that's going to be down around there, you know?
I think we already have a ton, and the fact that we have a speed bump in front of the racetrack burns, but not in front of the school, it sort of seems a little backwards to me when I think of it. We have hundreds of kids walking to and from school, yet we have a speed bump down where there's horses and one house, but.
That speed bump was brought in at the request of council after complaints over school buses speeding, and that's where that came in as a response to complaints through council, and it was approved by council for that spot based on, and the thinking at the time was based on complaints of school buses speeding.
Right.
So it was put in there as a safety measure for the school zone.
It's the same old thing though, right? If you get a runway, they're going to speed, bus or not, right? And that's my concern in front of Elm Street. Like, they can just go full out there. And, yeah, thank you. Councillor McDougall?
Yeah, maybe the chief and deputy CAO can help me with this, and don't get me wrong, I support the speed bumps and I support the temporary 4-way stop. But I'm not sure the process we're using. Before, if we needed someone to look at a 4-way stop, whether it was wherever, that was brought to the committee. The police department would come back, or the police, say if it was police, would come back with a recommendation.
And tech services as well.
And tech service as well. But what's happening here is we're coming up with a motion.
No, we're not.
Doing it tonight.
No, I'm just putting the motion forward for the council meeting, so it gives us a few weeks to kind of think about it and whatever has to be done in the meantime.
Yeah. But has that always been the process, or am I missing something?
I think you're right, most times.
Right, so
Mo-
if
sorry,
I wanna,
most
if I
times there's
wanna,
been a
if I
request
want a
and then
speed
there's-
bump, I'll just bring it to thing and then it'd be
I think-
Who would
approved.
you bring it to?
What?
Who would you bring it to?
I would probably bring it and put it on the police services for tonight.
Well, that's where it is. It's
Yeah,
on police
I-
services.
No, not yet, and that's fine, and I support it, okay? I'm not getting that part. But we're putting in stop signs where the police have had no input in it yet, right?
Well,
Have you
they're
had
not-
input in this? Has the police department had any input on this request yet?
No, not really. It,
Okay,
was
that's
just
my
placed-
point.
It was just placed on the agenda a few days ago.
It's
and,
only on the
So
agenda
that-
now, it
yeah,
just
but-
barely went
But that
on.
was my point, right? So would they come back, would the police come back with a recommendation, whether they approve of it or?
Well, certainly, I would have to meet with tech services and
Yeah.
the deputy CEO and look at it again
Right,
and bring it back to committee.
okay.
Look, which one are
But-
you looking at here? Again? tell
No,
me.
I'm just saying about the process. The process has always been that if I wanted a four-way stop wherever,
Yes.
I would take it when we had our police committee.
Well, that's
I
what we're
would have it-
doing,
Okay,
though.
yeah, just a second now, hold
Okay.
on. I would take it to the police committee and request a four-way stop at wherever. And that request would be taken by the police department and tech services, reviewed, and they'd come back and either approve it or say no, but we'd still vote on it, right? Am I right, Gordon?
Well, I think you're outlining the process that has been used in the past, for sure.
Right.
Is that
and-
not
but-
what we're doing tonight, though? Like, I just brought it forward tonight. We're just talking about it right now.
Yeah, but we're not asking.
Yeah, if,
We're not sending it
So
for
rather
staff
than
or
put a
recommend-
motion on the floor, is what
Right,
you're
we should-
saying,
Yeah, and have the
ask
motion on the
staff,
floor, yeah.
and then if staff say, there's not enough cars on Elm Street, or they're not speeding, or, so then we're gonna vote on it anyway? I guess,
Yeah.
you know,
That's not fair to myself, as Craig Evans. And last year, we had over 20.
put your mic on there, Greg. Can't hear you.
You can hear me.
Well, no, we're on camera, though.
25% speeders over 40 clicks an hour.
Right.
And I asked for speed bumps. Now that's 100, no, pretty near 1,000 cars going each way during the day. And it ended up, the speed bump went up to Wood Avenue, and there was 2 speeders and about 30 cars. That's not fair to the people in my party not to go by the count that was done, like Gordon's done counts now on a bunch of different streets, which I think we should probably all sit down as a council and have a look at them and, you know, and which ones I really need. I mean, there is different reasons, and each councilor can be involved in the reason.
Right.
And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying whether that should be there, it shouldn't be there. I'm just asking about the processes. Because we
Right.
all need to be on the same page.
Right. Well, I'm certainly okay with them doing a check or whatever. I assumed that's what we were doing anyway, and we were coming back to council.
But it looks like.
I'm
the
asking for
No,
that.
no, I know you're asking for that, but it looks like the counselor is telling them to put the stop signs up. And,
No, I'm telling them that I would like to see stop signs there because the residents who live in my ward
Awesome.
are asking for them. That's,
that's.
and
yeah,
his ward,
And that's
so
right.
both wards.
And that's the process.
So,
It should go back to the police department and the tech services to review and see if they agree. Like,
sure, if you want to take that and do a review, Norma?
Could I just weigh in on what you're saying, Councillor Bruce?
maybe I can.
And maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I'm trying to follow what your comments are. Is it because you're saying about the process, if we all funnel the comments that we hear from our different wards, from residents, because I think every one of us has residents that are complaining that they want a speed bump or a four-way stop or whatever, I'm trying to follow what you're saying. So putting that into police services for the committee and tech services to look at it, So that comes back as a recommendation. It gives every counselor for every ward that opportunity to ask and be considered.
Right.
Okay,
Right, yeah.
I got you. Thank you.
In the process we're doing tonight, it looks pretty easy to get a four-way stop, and it looks pretty easy to get a speed bump. And they're not that easy to get, because some people want them, some people don't, right? So,
But how would they be easy to get if council didn't vote for them? Like, we're gonna get a chance to vote on it, right, whatever, so they're not that easy to get, but you have to, if your constituents are coming to you and asking for these things, it's pretty hard not to bring them forward, and that's all I'm doing.
You're doing the right thing. You're
No,
doing the
you
right
are,
thing.
yes.
It's the process we're following. It's not.
But
You're doing the right thing.
But I guess what I'm trying to follow is what you're saying, Councillor Bruce, because I know what happens, say, for example, I don't want to cherry pick and say, for example, use the ward that I represent,
Right.
but when people watch it, they look at that and they think, well, how come we're not getting something in our ward? And then it becomes like, well, this ward is getting more, or this ward isn't. And so that's what you're talking about as far as the process, how we do it, that it's uniform and the same for
Right.
each ward.
Is there a
Yeah.
process that we're gonna follow? And if that's the process, then we'll follow it. Yeah.
Well, we
yeah.
have a committee meeting once a month, and if anybody has something from their ward that they want to put on the meeting, like this is something I brought forward, that doesn't mean that anybody else can't bring their things from their ward forward. So I'm just speaking right now for my ward, because that's all I can do.
Let's say our ward.
Our
Yeah,
ward,
yeah.
well, because, yeah, anyway, that's all I'm doing, and so if there needs to be, if you want to check it out, Dave with Tech Services, and that would be awesome, and bring that forward, and then we'll make a decision from there. And I know, Mayor, you have something you want to
Yeah, I
say,
do.
sorry.
And it's interesting, the discussion, but I guess if Councillor Ramsey's residents want a four-way stop wherever, whatever street you're talking about here, and because we've had a number of meetings over the last number of years with four-way stops, and sometimes staff didn't recommend them, but council decided that they would. I think maybe Duke Street might have been one of
Yeah.
them.
Duke and Notre Dame.
And may others, so I
Probably
guess,
the best four-way stop in
I'm
Summerside.
sort of listening to what you're not saying here too, Barb, or Councillor. You want this checked out, and you're serving notice that
There'll
come
be a motion.
September meeting, that you'll move a motion that a four-way stop
Right.
be
That's
someplace.
it,
Right.
that's what I was trying to say, I
Right,
couldn't
right.
get it out.
So that will be coming up in the meeting, and council
Yeah.
will decide, to vote on it and settle it one way or another.
Yeah,
So it's good to get the notice that the motion's coming, so council at least can think about it, and the staff can do their recommendations.
But
and-
my only concern with that, if because of my ward and the needs of my ward, I'm going to vote against the speed bumps in front of the school, and it looks like I'm not for speed bumps or school safety. That's not fair to me to have to make that decision.
we have to make lots of decisions that don't seem fair,
That's
Councillor Campbell.
No,
We have to make them.
and this was not about being against speed bumps or stop signs. It was the process that we've normally followed that we're getting away from.
And you say
So-
that we meet every month. We've only met one meeting since I've been on this commission for a year and a half, so we don't meet every month.
Anyway, I'm good.
Police committee doesn't meet every month.
I'll probably support it.
Most,
Thank you, Bruce.
I was just gonna add, if the committee wants a report back from staff, that would be at the next police committee meeting, which would be the 1st of October, which would mean that you'd have a recommendation go to the October meeting.
Okay,
But to the mayor's point, I just, like, process-wise, I think Councilor McDougall gave a pretty good summary of how it normally works. But I think the mayor's also pointed out numerous times that, like, any councilor's free at any meeting to put any motion on the floor, right? So it may not make it.
But it's better, I think, if a notice of a motion is coming, that if council are notified about it, whether it's, 3 weeks before from a committee meeting or to a council meeting. The odd time, a motion has to come to the floor without, without the notification, but if council are notified that there's a motion coming forward, it gives them a few weeks to think about it in order to vote. So I guess what you're saying is the motion will be coming to the floor sometime, whether it's this meeting or the next one, regarding what you're requesting for whether
Yeah.
it's the speed bump or the stop signs, and then
Yeah,
council
both.
will vote on it, yes, no, or Merry Christmas.
right. And in the meantime, tech services and police services will have an opportunity to do your little study. That's okay.
Yeah, if you're asking, if council's asking staff to look at it, we will.
Yeah. Yep.
Again, I'm thinking about the process. So does that mean at any given time that all 8 wards could put in requests for stop signs, speed bumps, whatever, and the police department will look at all of them? Or by the process, do you look at them to see where it's really needed? Like, is it a want or is it a need? And for me, it's about the process. Because I've heard people that have, you know, been very involved with traffic, and they have pretty well growled that we're going to have all kinds of speed bumps and 4-way stops around the city, which is going to really impede on the traffic flow. So we need to have, again, as we often hear about the science of doing something, we also need to have that side of it in the process. Because I can think of at least 6 places in Ward 6 that I would love to see speed bumps or stop signs, but what I've been told is it's the science. So as much as I want to see it and to please, say, maybe a resident, I'm going by the science of what's coming back in the reports. So I guess that's why I'm trying to question Councillor McDougall, what he's saying about the process. What do we do?
I think back at the first of this summer, the CAO had put out some information to council and had asked council at the time to bring any kind of traffic related issues, to either himself or myself.
Right.
And we were trying to put things in a queue to basically any, you know, if you had any type of traffic related issue, we put in the queue, and we tried to do the appropriate level of review and study on each one, and then
Right.
as they came through that, to bring them forward. But I think
And
may
that's
get-
my point, Gordon. When a motion comes through from, say, tech services or municipal services, it would bear the recommendation of the Municipal Services Committee or whatever, right? After review and consideration. And that's all I'm saying is, so.
So where's this end up
So
here?
I still want it on the floor. I'm going to,
Yeah.
it's a school zone. It's important. People are asking for it. It's the only school, I think, in Summerside that has a street, well, besides SIS, but it's the, Parkside has a corner there, so they slow down. We talked about this the other day in our police meeting. Vocational has quite a big parking lot before they're handy a street where the traffic, you know, goes very quickly. Your residents in your school, Bruce at Greenfield, have a large yard before they get. So Elm Street has that, you know, Elm Street School has Elm Street where they travel pretty fast. So I'm going to keep this on the table, and then I would ask staff that they do. You can go ahead and do a study. I know tech services aren't here, but Gordon, you've got that, and then we'll come back to our council meeting, I guess, and
There should be studies on Elm Street, because there was studies done last year at the request of myself regarding the speed bump that again came back that we shouldn't. So with all due respect to tech service, I know they have their reason and their numbers, and I know exactly what Councillor Campbell is saying. But sometimes I do think it's in the best interest of our residents to do what they feel is best in their ward. They're the ones that live there. They're the ones that drive through it every day. They're the ones that see maybe what tech services or whoever doesn't see on a daily basis. So I think in Charlottetown right now, and I don't like comparing us to Charlottetown, I don't think we should. I like us better than Charlottetown. So I think right now what they're doing in some of their communities, because they're facing the same thing, a lot of people that are asking for speed bumps, they're doing almost like a community petition type thing for anybody in their ward. So, you know, my ward, there's a street where Jane Doe comes to me and says, I really think we should have a speed bump, and all her neighbors on that street say, yeah, we really want a speed bump here. You know, what's the harm with the speed bump? They all live there, it's their street, they pay the taxes, they bought the houses there. Like, so there's some sense to that, and I think that's what they are doing in Charlottetown. So maybe that's something we need to look at long term. Councilor Ramsey's point, school's starting up here next week. You don't want to drag out a process that could cause a life down the road or speed, because I'm telling you, there's a significant issue with speed on Elm Street in that area. And it's been brought to our attention
Many
year over
times.
year.
And that's one of the reasons why it's so important for me, who's not gonna be around the school in the morning to see the situation. It's not fair to make me, or give me the vote of whether we have a speed bump or not, because I haven't seen or witnessed it myself. There's more to it than just the amount of cars, where it is just the amount of cars up in my ward.
So, if there aren't any more questions, seems every time I ask for something for my ward, this is what I get. It just goes on and on. Opposition to my right here all the time, but anyway, that's okay. I know. Anyway, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, Chief Dave, for coming over, and I'll adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Ramsey. And Mr. Giroux, I believe the electrical is coming up, if you want to take the head chair there. Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Mr. Giroux, welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship.
How are things going in your department? Pretty good? That's good.
Very busy.
Good. There's a couple of items on the agenda. For the electrical, Councillor Campbell, the floor is yours, sir. You push your button there so we can get recorded. Sorry.
That doesn't even help. I don't have a button. I'm losing my voice. I'm having thyroid problems. So the deputy mayor said she would read the report.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So Councillor Campbell is the chairperson and I'm his vice chair, so he's asked.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
gladly. Okay, there's two recommendations coming forward. And the first one, number one, through Electric Services, is a substation upgrade budget increase. I'll read the recommendation. A request for additional capital approval to the amount of $420,000 to complete this year's job for the substation 2020 SCADA and transformer upgrade.
Maybe get the agenda approval there just before we...
Oh, thank you. I haven't done that. Okay. So I'll just open up the Electric Services Committee, and I would just move for approval for the committee meeting. Do I see a show of hands? Thank you. Okay, so I won't go into that recommendation fully, but it is for the to complete the work on this year's job for Substation 2020 SCADA and transformer upgrade. Currently, it is a total amount of $525,000 in the budget, and required monies is $945,000. So the supporting explanation for council members is that the purpose, the load in the city is growing. Some circuits are getting close to design limits, and T7 will be upgraded to increase capacity of the substation. This year's capital budget was requested and approved for $525,000. Of this budget, $195,000 is left in the account. The lowest tender submission that met the specifications to finish the project is $586,580. With a small amount of contingency, the request for additional capital is $420,000. The project requires this funding to award the tender contract. The reasons for the request of supplemental is below. Number one, it was projected to spend $650,000 last year when only $490,000 was spent. The difference of $160,000 carried over to this year's budget unexpectedly. Point number two, when the project was contemplated, it was to be completed with in-house resources of line crews and electricians, but due to COVID-19 backup and developments on the rise for servicing the in-house resources were not available, and a tender for construction went out. The cost difference of outsourcing the work, is an additional $260,000. The previous capital last year came in at 1.9 million of a 3.2 million ask. This year's ask of 1.9 million will most likely be around 2.3 million with this request. The yearly average is still targeted for 2 million per year, plus or less. So the cost and financial impact would be, for the account name Substation 2020 Upgrade, the account number 1844560,640 and account number 1803060,621 would be approved in the budget to the amount of $525,000. The actual cost is $945,000, which would be the addition of $420,000. So that's being submitted to council as a recommendation.
So did your question or your statement will be approved? Was it, how did you word that then?
It's a request.
It's the request. They're just, the Electric Services Department, they're giving that information to council that it needs to be upgraded in the budget amount. Okay?
Fine.
And it will be coming forward in a special council meeting just a bit later on as a resolution to council, but we want to give the background. And I wonder, Gerard, is there anything else that you would want to add?
Well, yeah, so just to make a couple of the items clear. So item number 1, the reason for the supplemental, but the difference for the 160,000 to be carried over. Some of that was with regards to ever since Dorian and our new line supervisor training, that amount was an oversight to ask for in addition to that 525. And then we are pretty swamped right now trying to catch up with all the COVID-19 and development, and so we can see that we won't have the capabilities in-house to do this work, and that's the difference of the 260,000 is we were going to use that internal.
And I'd just add to it, this is a good news thing. We're getting that many new clients and things like that that we have to add to our transformers and receivers.
Yeah. Good point.
And I believe Councillor McEwen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Councillor McFeely.
Yeah, I certainly understand the rationale and everything. Like, my question is, where is the 420,000 coming from? $420 is the extra.
Yeah, so the 420 is carrying over the 160,000 from last year's budget that we forgot to carry over as the oversight, and then the difference in the project, just the labor portion of it is 260,000. If we would have done it in-house, we wouldn't need that 260,000, but because we're so busy and understaffed, we need to.
No, I understand that. That wasn't my question.
Okay.
My question was, how are we paying for the $420,000?
We'll be borrowing long-term for that.
We borrowing with, in the utility account?
That's correct, yes, the
Yeah,
electric
okay.
utility.
Okay, yeah, great, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor Snow?
So we forgot to carry over the 160, so we budgeted last year for the 650. Of that, 490 was spent, 160 should have been carried over to this year, but instead we left it in our budget and spent it again. What? But it was spent, that 160 was spent.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't spent.
Not in the utility, but somewheres it would have been spent.
No, like you can see the very last sentence, like the previous capital last year came in at 1.9 million of the 3.2 million asked. So we asked for 3.2 million, but we only spent 1.9.
So where is that 160 sitting in the meantime?
It hasn't been borrowed.
Oh, okay, so that was money that would have been borrowed last year.
You approved amount of spending last year that we would have had to borrow for in the utility. We
Okay.
didn't spend that amount, so we never had to borrow the amount.
Okay, okay.
I thought it was budgeted within the utility and we didn't spend it all and then ran
Okay,
the 160 back in and
understood,
spent
yeah.
it. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, council members? Your worship? No? Okay. So that recommendation will be coming forth in a special council meeting shortly. And then I have another recommendation through the Electric Services Department. And this is for the substation 2020 upgrade tender award. The recommendation is that Holland Power Services has the lowest qualified bid for the substation 2020 upgrade request for proposal. Staff recommends that the proposal be awarded to Holland Power Systems in the amount of $586,580 plus applicable taxes. The supporting explanation to council would be the purpose. This will allow expansion of 12.47 kV circuits to accommodate increasing loads and provide SCADA system for monitoring and alarming. The background information is that the load in the city is growing. Some circuits are getting close to design limits. T7 will be upgraded to increase capacity of the substation. The report, the City of Summerside received 5 proposals as a result of our City of Summerside electric utility. Summerside tender number 2020 substation upgrade dated July 10th, 2020. The following are the 5 bids received which meet the required specification. Ainsworth does not meet specifications. Holland, do you need the amount as well if they don't meet the specifications, Gerard?
Yeah.
Okay, so their amount was $354,830. Holland Power Systems was $586,580. Rising Edge, $737,765. Cormorant Utility Services, $948,261. Black and McDonald, $1,636,900. The alternatives, not applicable. Advantages, approval will see the project completed by year end. There's no disadvantages, and the cost and financial impact to the city would be $586,580. It would be in the account name Substation 2020 Upgrade. The account numbers would be 18445-60640 and also account number 1803060-621. The approved in budget would be $945,000, which would give $616,000 remaining. The actual cost would be $586,580. This is the recommendation as of September 1st, and that will also be coming forward in a special council for resolution. And I'll just turn it over to you, Gerard, if there's anything else you want to add. Okay? Okay. Okay. So are there any questions from council members?
So we approved in budget already 945, which we plan to borrow. Am I right in saying that? What?
We've approved 525 in the original budget. They're requesting an additional supplemental budget of 420, so that'll be the 945,000 that is required to do this work.
Okay.
And that's for the proposal, or for the bid.
Because
Yeah.
it says approved in budget 945.
That's assuming that the supplemental
Okay.
amount will be approved.
Once we, okay, perfect. The next question, just looking at what would have made Ainsworth not meet specs, if you can say that? Because, and the reason why I'm asking, as I look at the prices, we're everywhere, like, it seems like 200,000 in between each, which is pretty significant, up to almost $1 million. So somebody's estimates are off. I don't know, I'm just thinking.
Right, so for Ainsworth, that 354,000 was for, we had basically pricing for about 7 items, 7 parts of it. They only put a bid in for 3 of the 7.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. But Holland, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council?
On Councillor Snow's comment there, the difference in the prices from 354,000 to $1.6 million. It's an awful difference in tenders, over $1 million. But I understand the difference, what you just said there with the low one of 354.
So is that it for council for your comments?
There's a recommendation coming to the...
Yes, there's 2 resolutions coming, one for the 420,000 and the other for the tender to be awarded.
Is that all you have for the electrical?
And that ends the electrical services.
Well, I guess we've gotten to the end of the committees for tonight. And so anyway, we'll call a special council meeting to order, September 1st, 2020, and we have all councillors present, except Councillor Duran. And we have our electrical engineer, Mr. Giroux, with us here at the head table, the head chair. And we will call this meeting to order. I believe Deputy Mayor, the Vice Chair of Electrical, you will got a couple of resolutions and we'll continue on. Is there a
Yes.
motion to approve the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Moved by Deputy Mayor McCollum and seconded by Councillor Snow. All in favor? Thank
Aye.
you. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And for members of council, we just read the 2 recommendations, and now coming forth are 2 resolutions. The first resolution is Resolution COS 20087. It was moved by Councillor Greg Campbell and seconded by Councillor Norma McColman, whereas a request for additional capital approval to increase the budget by $420,000 to complete this year's job for the substation 2020 SCADA and transformer upgrade. Be it resolved that the City of Summerside will increase the capital budget for the substation 2020 upgrade project by a value of $420,000. This bears the recommendation of the Electric Services Committee meeting of September 1st, 2020.
So it's moved by Councillor Campbell and seconded by Councillor McCollum. Just, it says to complete this year's job. Did it start yet?
No, it hasn't. What it kind of meant is have it completed by the year end, by December.
The calendar year? Yeah, okay.
But, yeah.
Okay, any further questions? Councillor McDougall, you're reaching for the mic there.
Good.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, nay. Carried.
And that's unanimous. Okay, and the second resolution, Your Worship and council members, is resolution number COS 20088, moved by Councillor Greg Campbell, seconded by Councillor Norma McColman, whereas tenders were called for substation 2020 upgrade, and whereas the City of Summerside received 4 valid bids as follows. Ainsworth does not meet specification, and as we heard in the recommendation, there were only so many components submitted. That amount was $354,830. Holland Power Systems, the amount of their bid was $586,580. Rising Edge, their bid was $737,765. Cormorant Utility Services, $948,261, and Black and McDonald, their bid was $1,636,900. Be it resolved that the City of Summerside awards the substation 2020 upgrade tender to Holland Power Systems for a revised value of $586,580. This bears the recommendation of the Electric Services Committee meeting of September 1st, 2020.
Thank
that
you.
approval.
Moved by Councillor Greg Campbell and seconded by Deputy Mayor Norma McColman. Any questions on the resolution? All in favor say aye. Aye. Contrary nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. I guess we've gotten to the end of the agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councillor McFeely and seconded by Councillor Ramsey. All in favor?